Hello. Let me know if you can hear me okay. This is a weird camera. I've got different software. It's very challenging for my brain on a Friday. So let me know if it's working and you can hear me okay. I can see all your comments, so that's good. That side of the tech is working. You can hear me. Yes. Yes. I couldn't really test the audio myself, so I'm glad that it's working and it's not playing up. So I'm going to, we'll have a wee chat first of all about the So Long. If you're new, I'll lift you up a wee bit, to the So Long, and you've never done one before, I'll tell you, this camera angle is not the one. I'll tell you what it's all about. If you're sewing along, amazing. If you're not, that's fine. This will be recorded by Facebook and probably by YouTube as well. I don't know if I can record it in here somewhere. Let me see. Recording. Don't know. Pass. Right, anyway. I kept seeing these dresses everywhere on the telly and the shops, and it was basically a tank top with a skirt attached to it. And I thought, this is good for, it'd be great for the honey tank, which we already had. And the download is not downloading. Julie, if you can't get it, email us. I can't do anything about it right now if that's not downloading. Try it on a laptop if it's the honey tank you're talking about. But you can email us and we can try and sort it out. If you've just joined, I did send out a link this morning with a download link, an email this morning, but if you weren't already on the list, you wouldn't have got that. So I can do that again later on. But yes, I kept seeing these lovely wee dresses. Mine's has actually already been worn about 10 times. So it's just out of the washing. But they are just so cute. Some nice wee learning points as well, because although the skirt and the tank themselves are quite simple, actually sewing stretch fabric to non-stretch fabric, there are a couple of things you need to be careful of. So I think it is going to be useful for people, even if it's not something that you're going to make right away. It'll be good to know how to work with stretch and non-stretch fabric together. Make sure that it still fits. So, right. I'm going to just change my camera around to my sewing desk and then we can get cracking. I will keep a wee eye on the comments, so if anything doesn't make sense, you can let me know. If you're watching this and you just happen to have arrived here without actually being part of, like you've not signed up for the honey tank, you didn't know this was happening, we're sewing a nice wee dress. There's a free pattern available. There is the link to get the free pattern should be in the description. Sign up and I will resend out the link tonight afterwards. So if it's not working for any reason, I will send out an email. So sign up to the link and you'll still get the pattern regardless. Right, let's get, in fact, I'm going to show you my fabric first because obviously I've got Liberty again. Because why not? It's the cheapest and one of the best Liberty dresses you might ever make. So I have got this Liberty, which is called Verve Pop. We sell this in the shop. It's quite a muted palette for me. It's quite girly, but I just loved it with this as the top. So this is my combo. It's going to be very summery. My other one is like darker colours. It's like a kind of terracotta and artist's bouquet, I think that Liberty is called. So I love matching Liberties to other fabrics. It's probably one of my favourite things. So this is the colour combo that I have gone for my second honey tank Liberty dress hack. Let's get cracking. Also, before I go, sorry, if you are interested in just doing the tank and you're actually like, do you know what, dresses aren't for me, we're almost making the tank top in its entirety. The only thing that we won't have done is hemmed it, because obviously we're adding a skirt. So if you're thinking that's not for me, the tank top, we're still going to do it in its entirety. So that will be useful for you as well. Right, let's get cracking. Julie, it's from us. Everything's from us. We've got kits. That is a kit as well on the website. But yeah, everything is on our website. So we've got, if you go on to soconfident.co.uk, it's called, and you just search for the word honey, the honey tank kits come up. So they're dead easy to find. Right. Let's sort this bit out. There we go. Okie dokie. So the first thing that might be new to you is probably one of my favourite new pieces of, I guess it's not kit, it's like a haberdashery type thing, isn't it? This is included in the kits that we send out as well. So this is called Stretch Fix by Vaseline. It's really cool stuff. It's basically like stretchy Wonderweb. So you can use it for hemming. You can use it for what we're going to be doing, which is using it as like a glue in between bits that will become necklines, armholes, that sort of thing. So if you are a little bit iffy about working with jersey, this can make your life a lot easier, because sometimes armholes and necklines can be a bit tricky. I've already ironed mine on for quickness sake. So when we do these sew-alongs for the sub box, so we've got a subscription box that we send out to, currently there's over 200 people actually joining us for the sub box now. Part of our sub box is you get a live sew-along with us. Now it's on Zoom, it's not on live. I'm not using this unfamiliar software that I'm currently using, so I'm much better at it. It's recorded and it's put in a hub afterwards. There's loads and loads of different tutorials from 5 years worth of sew-alongs in there. And what we aim to do in the 2-hour sew-along is get through all of the tricky bits, so that you, even if you're reading instructions and it doesn't really make sense, you can jump in to the hub at any time and just check out how we did that tricky bit. And it's a bit more helpful, I think, than just having the paper instructions. So this is like a little bit of a taster into what a sew-along is like with us on the sub box. So let me just check the chat. It will be recorded on Facebook. I'm trying to download it. I don't know if this is recording it or hopefully YouTube. Between the two of them, it'll record. The lives always hang about. Love that Stretch Fix stuff. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so the Stretch Fix is going on to the armhole. So you've got 2 armhole binding pieces, and you'll have 1 neckline piece like that. Cup of tea arrived for me there. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut the Stretch Fix so that it is half of the neckband or the armband here. So the paper is still on it. So what I did is I literally just took this off and then started cutting it like that. And then that's how. And then I ironed over the paper side onto the fabric so that the Stretch Fix is now glued to the fabric but didn't stick to my iron because the paper was on it. Now you then, once you've ironed it, the reason I'm doing this bit first is because you want to put your Stretch Fix on, iron it on, and then leave it for a bit because you want it to cool down. If it's still warm when you're trying to pull the paper off, it's likely to pull the Stretch Fix off as well, and then you're going to need to do it again. So obviously we want to avoid that. So I would iron the Stretch Fix on, like I have, on this piece, on your armhole binding pieces, and then just leave it. We will be peeling this paper off in a minute. So I've already done mine, so I'm going to just put that to one side, and we will make the body of the tank. Okay, so let's grab, I actually got this scene as well. Is this going to work? So this gives you a bird's eye view at the same time. That's outrageous now. So I've got my front piece here that I'm going to lay down in front of me, right side up. Your right side and wrong side of a jersey fabric, there is actually a right side and a wrong side. The right side looks like it's got wee lines going up and down on it, and the wrong side doesn't have any of those wee lines, so that's how you can tell. It's actually up to you what side you prefer, of course, but just make sure whatever side you choose as your right side, you stick with that right side throughout, otherwise you can end up noticing, oh, that bit looks a bit weird. So you won't be able to see on my camera, but I can see a very definite, like, tiny wee stripe on this. So this is my right side. Then I'm going to grab my back piece. And again, right sides together, find my right side, that's my right side there. You put this down on top. And I'm going to stick a wee pin or a clip into these shoulder seams, first of all. Wondering if adding a bit in the middle would help. I love the honey tank, but did find it like narrow at the front side boob. Has anyone tried to make the front panel wider? I mean, you could redraw this line on the front panel if you wanted to, and just burrow it like that a wee bit. And then you'll have to make sure that you have to adjust your arm binding so that it's just a little bit smaller than whatever that new circumference is of your armhole. But yeah, you can definitely just pull it in a wee bit here, I think, and that should solve it. Okay, so right, with these right sides together, I'm just going to run these through my overlocker. Now, if you don't have an overlocker, you can use your sewing machine. You can either use a stretch stitch on your sewing machine, or you can use Maraflex, which would be my preferred option. Actually, overlocker is the one for stretch fabric. If you've got one, you will know. Second, if you don't have an overlocker, get some Maraflex. Maraflex is a thread that's got stretch. It's not an elastic, it's the way it's woven, so it's got give in it. It's really nice. And you put it in the top and the bottom of your machine, and then just make your stitch length a little bit longer, and you just put a normal straight stitch in. Failing that, normal thread and a stretch stitch, but I'm not really a fan of a stretch stitch in a sewing machine, if I'm honest. Right, there we go. Now, my seam allowance is 1 centimetre, so I'm just going to chop a wee bit off when I'm going here. Okay, then we're going to do our side seams. So a couple of pins or clips in our side seams here, and we're going to run them through overlocker or your sewing machine. You'll be getting an idea of how quick this wee tank top is to run up now. It is very satisfying. This pattern was from a past Confident capsule collection that we did as a nice little basic piece for your wardrobe. I probably wear some form of tank top, strappy top every day, so it was an absolute wardrobe staple for me, for sure. Okay, so again, I'm going to run this through. When I'm making something, I kind of flip this over there because I like to always have the hem as where I'm kind of finishing, because if anything shifts, I want any dodgy bits to be at the bottom because I can just cut them off. So sometimes you'll have, if you get 2 layers of fabric here, you've only got 1 layer of feed dogs. So sometimes what happens is the feed dogs underneath will pull the bottom fabric through quicker than the top fabric is going through, which means you can end up at the end with a little bit of like this kind of situation where the fabric's a little bit off kilter. And that's why I like to always start. So in this example, at the armhole, I'm just finishing at the hem and not going from the hem up. It's going to cause me more problems that are a bit more difficult to fix. I'm going to be very good, and I'm going to try and cut off all my wee thready bits as I go. Nice and neat. So we have the basics of a wee tank top here now. And I'm going to go back now to my neck bands and my arm bands. I'm going to pull off the Stretch Fix paper. So it's nice, should be nice and cool now. And you'll see this just peels off dead easy. And under here, it's just like a gluey residue, and it's stretchy too. I'm going to pull the paper off. And then we're going to make this into a loop. So I've not ironed anything, nothing's been glued. I'm just going to run this little short edge through my overlocker to make this into a loop, and I'll do the same with all of my pieces. Samantha says she just popped hers on. I'm sewing along, it fits. When I'm not doing a sew along, I try things on so if I'm here at the weekend, I'm planning on sewing in here at the weekend because Steve's out tomorrow in particular. I try things on at almost every single, like you put a sleeve in and it's only one side, I will try the bodice on. I keep trying it on all the time. It's one of the best things about sewing is literally just seeing it come together, but that is definitely the kind of thing that I would have on right now if I wasn't live, because we don't want that on the live. Especially with this new tech, I'd end up hitting something and changing the camera. Getting cancelled. Same with these wee ones. I'm just going to pull this. Pulling this paper off also is so satisfying, I can't tell you. Even makes a nice noise. How ASMR-esque is that? Put it over beside my microphone. So same with these. This is a wee armhole one. This colour is absolutely gorgeous. And then same again. Sarah, this tape is on the wrong side. Good question. It'll make sense in a minute why it's on the wrong side. Okay, so now I've got my 3 loops. I am going to zoom in a wee tiny bit. I'm basically going to be folding this in half and then pressing it again with my iron, which is going to melt the glue. So it's getting folded in half, wrong sides together, gluey sides together. So there's no glue on the outside. The glue bit is in there. You can see it's a bit shiny. So I'm folding that in half, matching that wee raw edge and giving it a press. Now what you can do as well to reduce bulk, so I've just folded this at the moment just flat in half, like that. But what you can do is, if I push the top of my seam allowance in that direction, the bottom of my seam allowance in this direction, it kind of shares the bulk and stops you having such a bulky bit to sew over here. You can see on the inside how one is pushed one way, one is pushed the other. That's a wee, it's not necessary, don't worry if you don't want to do that. But I like to just flatten that out a wee bit so it's not too chunky. I'm going to jump over to my ironing board and give this a wee press, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then I'll do these other ones. So just give me 1 wee second. For a neckline like this as well, I sometimes use my tailor's ham so that I can just do a wee bit at a time, because it's quite a small loop. It can be a bit awkward otherwise. Oh, right, turn my iron on, that would help. Just have a wee sip of my tea. Oh, not up. Frankie, if you can't download the pattern, I'll be sending it out again via email, so just make sure you're signed up and I'll send it out again, don't worry. Lammy Claire says, always wanted to know how to work that stuff. Visaline is one of my favourite brands for things you didn't know you needed kind of products. They've got loads of cool stuff. Kate, the fabric that I'm using for the top, this is just a jersey. So we do have kits made up complete with matching Liberty that we have matched so that the tones are perfect. But we do just sell the jersey on its own as well, if you like. Frankie got it, brilliant, that's cool. Whenever I've watched you sew, you're always so calm. Well, you've maybe not witnessed me unpicking live yet, because that does happen because I am only human at the end of the day. But sewing does chill me out. And this is my pattern, so I've made this pattern 100 times. And it's a Friday night and I'm sewing with friends, so what's not to love? And I've been sewing for about 100 years as well, which also helps. Right, that's my iron heated up. I'm not using steam, I'm just using a bit of pressure and a nice hot iron, and that is going to melt my stretch fix for me. Oh, this just makes neckbands look so neat. Nearly done. Here we go. So if you have ever put a neckband into a t-shirt or used jersey, you'll know that no amount of pressing will make it behave itself like that. I'm going to give that another repress actually. It just never, it's unheard of. So this is where Stretch Fix comes into its own. It's a glue for sorting out these bands, but still allows stretch for you to stretch it in. Let me just sort that wee bit that's come away. Okay. And then I'll do these other ones as well. That tape will be so good for children's tees and jumpers. Yes, it's good for any jersey, to be honest. Julie's baking. That's a hobby I've not yet mastered. I'm scared to master it because I would probably eat everything that I bake. Are you matching the baby lock straps to your... It looks like it, doesn't it? It's like exactly the same colour. I'm a warm... I've had my colours done and I'm a warm colour, like a yellow base, so this is absolutely perfect for me. These, Frankie, are... It's called Visaline Stretch Fix. Must get some, I hate pressing. I'm just going to press these other wee armhole ones. Take my time this time. I've got a weekend ahead of me of sewing bits and pieces for a festival that I'm going to this summer, so that's exciting. But one of the things that I am making this weekend, which if you follow us, I will keep you updated on the progress, is a waterproof poncho with taped waterproof seams as well, which I've actually never done before. So that'll be pretty cool. I like a new gadget or a new piece of hobby to play with, so the waterproof seam tape stuff will be cool to try out. See how it works. That is another one of my armholes done. Last one. So if you're sewing along, let me know. If you're doing something else entirely, let me know. On the sew-alongs that we do in the sub box, there is no pressure at all to sew along with me. Quite a lot of people just prefer to watch and then absorb all the information, and then they'll do it later on at the weekend. Our sew-alongs are the last Thursday of every month as well, so it's a nice little weekend precursor. Nearly done. I've obviously used some of my flatter spray the last time I've used this tailor's ham, because the smells coming off the tailor's ham as I'm heating it up is delightful. Right, there we go. Diane says waterproof seam tape is fabulous. I use it a lot. Well, I'll know who to ask if I have any troubles then. Teresa's sewing along, amazing. Sophie is eating dinner, then going to do some cutting out, perfect. Sarah, I need to print the pattern first, but I'm hoping to make Me Made Summer Holiday clothes this way fab. This will be perfect. Denise making a mock-up from an old frock, cute. Lots of sewers on a Friday, that's nice. Right. So we are going to put our neckband and armholes in. I'm going to start with my neckband, which is the shortest one. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my halfway points and my quarter points of my neckband, and then I'm going to find my halfway points and my quarter points of my neckline here, and then I will match them up. So you can mark with chalk, I mark with pins actually. So I'm going to put the seam from my neckband at the back, so, and I can see where the fold of the fabric is, so that's where the back is. I'll pop a wee pin in just so it's a bit more visible. So that's where my back is. I can see where my front is here. And if I put my front and my back together, I can find where my halfway point is. So a mistake that a lot of people make when they're doing this is they assume that the shoulder seams are the halfway point. The shoulder seams are almost never the halfway point, so I would always check if you think they are, but they're often not, because the halfway point's actually almost halfway into the front neckline here. So that's my halfway point there, and then I'll do the same on the other side. There we go. So that, let me turn my light up a wee bit here. So these are my halfway points, and my quarter points are actually here and here, which looks like it's wrong, but it is right. So I'm going to do the same with this, a bit easier on this piece. So if that's my back, then this bit here is a halfway point. Just a wee pin in that. Then if I match my two halfway points, it gives me a quarter point here. And another wee quarter point here, and then we can match these up. So my neckband doesn't have a wrong side now because I've concealed those wrong sides within the neckband, because that's where the stretch fix was, so they're gone. So I don't have a right side of my neckband, but I do have a right side of my honey tank top. So I want the right side of my tank top to be against my neckband. So right sides together and raw edges together is what we're doing here. So I'm matching up my back seam first of all. And then I'm going to match up this wee one. So again, right sides together, raw edges together. And match these wee ones up. And then my quarter points here. Make sure you've not twisted the neckband anywhere. Okay, so it's pinned in. Now you'll find you'll need to stretch it a wee tiny bit as you're sewing it in. That's absolutely fine. You can put more pins in if you like. Right, I'm going to just sort it as I go. Now when we're putting this And we're sewing this in. Whenever you're sewing anything where one piece is slightly smaller than the other, you want to do a technique like this, which just makes sure that the excess is spread evenly along the neckline. And you also want to make sure that when you take the pins out, that you aren't moving the excess along. So where this pin is where I need this fabric to be sewn together. Otherwise, at the end, you're going to have a big lumpy bit and it can just make the neckline not look great. So wherever the pins are is where you need to sew the fabric together. So just bear that in mind and don't take your pins out too early. Can Lycra be used in place of jersey, and do you still use Stretch Fix? You can definitely use Lycra in this top because it could be a nice gym top actually. I don't know if I would use Stretch Fix on Lycra. It depends how tolerant it is for ironing. If it's not melty, then it would be fine. I would test it out in a wee scrap bit first. Right, let's stitch this neckband on. I do use pins on my overlocker, but you are sometimes better with clips because you don't want to hit a pin on your overlocker because it can throw all your timing out. So if you've got clips, use them. I don't know where my wee box of clips is gone, or I would be using them. So I'm going in at a wee angle here. As soon as my fabric gets near the blade, I'm going to straighten it up. I'm going to be cutting a wee bit off again as well. There we go. So just taking your time, making sure that your edges are together. You're not missing any bits. There we go. Sarah, I'm no good at doing circles on the overlocker. I always switch to the normal machine. Did you see how I came off there? I just came off. I went straight until I was overlapping the stitching that I did at the start. So there is a bit of an overlap there, and then I just come off at an angle. So there we turn this inside out. Give this a wee press, flatten it out a wee bit. That's your nice wee neckline put in. I am not going to do the armholes just for time's sake, but they're done in exactly the same way. If I've got time at the end, then I'll come back to it, but I want to just crack on with the next bit. So you do the same for the armholes. I would give your neckline a wee press. If you want, you can top stitch to hold the seam allowance down. I would use ideally, again, I would use Stretch Fix on that because it's a stretchy thread and it's much nicer than any other top stitching that you'll be able to do. And obviously any other wee things, like if you want to sew in a label, you can sew a wee label in there too. So let's assume that we've done both of those and we're going to move on to the next bit. So if you were not doing the skirt at this point, I would be just overlocking that raw edge and turning it up and hemming it. And then that's your tank top done. It's literally like one of the quickest things you can ever make. It's so good. But we are obviously putting a skirt on. So, take a wee drink of tea. For your skirt fabric, if you bought a kit from us, you get 2 meters of Liberty in the kit, which is generous. The chances are you'll be able to get something else out of it. What we basically want to do is whatever because this is supposed to sit kind of on your hips. You can do it on your waist if you want. Actually, you can just make this shorter so the skirt can be attached wherever you like. The kind of dropped waist look is very in just now. It's everywhere. I actually find it quite flattering as well. Although you wouldn't expect it to be, because actually my stomach is not an area that I particularly enjoy having tight fabric around, but it does somehow look flattering, probably because there's a wee bit of volume coming from the skirt at this hip level here. So what you need to do is the fabric that we're going to make the skirt out of has to be a good bit wider than your hip measurement. And that's because obviously we are gathering this skirt in here. So if you cut your fabric the same size as the bottom, not only is it you're not going to get it on because there's no stretch in it, whereas this is stretchy and this is close fitting, but you're not going to be able to gather it because you've cut it the same size. When I was doing this the first time round, I actually ended up using too much fabric and cutting a bit off because I felt like it was too gathered. So it is a little bit of you can decide what you prefer and what look you want. You can just do it where it's a wee bit gathered, or you can do it where it's really gathered and there's loads of fabric in it. The length you want it to be is also up to you. The one I have got, I will tell you what the length is. So, and this sits on just above my hips, this one does. So this length the finished length is 64 centimetres, which is obviously, it would have been longer than that to begin with because I've got seam allowance at the top and I've got hem allowance at the bottom. And I've cut my fabric already. So I have cut my fabric into, see what this length is. I'm open to it being a bit longer, but we'll see what this is that I've just cut. Okay, so how I've cut my fabric is you'll see my selvage is here. So rather than having my selvage, and you can only do this with prints that don't have an obvious up and down, rather than have my selvage running up and down the way, like up and down where the side seam of the garment would be, I've got mine running along the bottom. And it's just because it's a more economical use of this fabric for me. But you can do it whatever way you like. The fabric width of Liberty is, I think it's about 130 wide. So as long as a front piece and a back piece 130 wide is a chunk bigger. So it only has to be, let me tell you what mine is, right? My hips are, it'll make more sense when you're actually doing it, but my hips are 92, which means I want like a tube of fabric that's going to be gathered into this top that is, I would say 130 at least. That's giving me a good wee bit of fabric that I can then pull in to get that nice gathered effect. So let's see what this width is. So this is over 150. So I think that's going to be plenty. So rather than me doing a front piece and a back piece, I'm just going to have one side seam on this, because this one piece is enough to go round my hips and give me enough to gather in. If you want loads of gathers, you can do a front piece and a back piece. So I could do like 100 on the front piece, 100 in the back piece, which would give me a 200 circumference that I'm then gathering in to what is like a 92 centimetre bit. So like, what's that? Half, essentially. So 100% added on. I'm going to do one. So I would say, let me figure out what was the maths on that. I'd add on probably a third. When I'm doing a shirt dress that needs to be stretchy, I would take my measurements and add on at least another third to give me some space. So if I am 92, 150 minus 92. Just want to give you an actual way to work this out. 58, and then what's 58? As a percent. So that's about 60%. I think 50% is fine, to be fair. 50 or 60% added on to give you enough nice fabric to gather in. So first thing I'm doing then with my skirt is I want to make it into a tube. So whether that is a front piece and a back piece and two side seams, or whether that is one piece like I'm doing and one side seam, whatever it is, we're going to stitch this into a tube. So I am going to jump onto my sewing machine. I will run the raw edge through my overlocker. Just make sure we're not twisting anything here. I'm going to pop some pins in here. I'm going to stick some pins in here, and then I am going to just try this on so that I can make sure that I'm happy with how much extra fabric there is in it. These are not the same length, these bits of fabric. There's about a centimetre difference, and that's because I snipped and ripped, didn't I? I did not take much care when I was cutting these bits. Right, let's just see how much space we've got in this. Do you know what? I'm actually going to go a bit more than that, I think. So I will do a front and a back. Let's add some more. Let's go for like 50% added on. There we go. So much fabric here. Right. Pin this wee side seam. Right, just plug this machine in because I plugged it in a go. Now, I don't need fancy thread or anything for this because this is not stretch fabric. This is just cotton Liberty Tanalone, so a normal straight stitch is absolutely fine. And I'm just doing a wee 1 centimetre seam allowance. That is my favourite seam allowance. That's what I always do, so sticking with it. And then I'm just going to run this through the overlocker, a raw edge. And then I'm just going to cut a little bit off the end of mine because this is going to be far too much fabric for me. So give me 1 second. I love how easily Tanalone rips. It's so satisfying. Right. I only took a wee bit off. But I did end up cutting a bit off the last one, so... Okay, so my width. And if I gather this and still think, oh, it's too much, I can take a wee bit more off it. That'll be alright. Okay, so I'm going to do my other side seam now in the same way. This is going to be so cute. Very girly colours for me, I must admit, this one. A lot of pink, I'm not a big pink gal generally. The skirt, of course, doesn't have to be at Liberty. I just absolutely live for this stuff. Again, running this through my overlocker. Why do you sew a seam in overlock cotton fabric versus overlock jersey? I feel it's probably unnecessary, to be honest, but I do feel like I've been asked this before. I feel like the stitch that you get from a sewing machine for a non-stretch fabric is just that little bit stronger than an overlocking stitch. But you can just whiz through it with your overlocker. I'm sure it would be fine. Especially there's not going to be any tension on this seam, really. So I don't even have a good answer for you other than probably a made up idea that the stitching's a bit stronger. It's probably a bit of habit as well from generally if you are sewing a non-stretch garment, often there's bits that you need to press the seams open. And if you've overlocked and you've not done a straight stitch, you can't do that. So it's probably a bit of that as well. Habit, I would say. Right, now we're going to do 2 rows of gathering stitches along the top edge of the skirt. So for gathering, we are, pick your top edge. If you've got a right way up and a wrong way up, you're obviously going to have to be careful because you don't want to accidentally gather the hem. You need to pull it out. This is a floral fabric. There's no right side up. So I'm just going to pick the top edge. I've got my machine on a straight stitch. I've got normal thread in it. I am going to increase the stitch length to as high as it will go. And I'm not doing any reversing or back tacks in this. I'm going to start at a side seam and finish at a side seam. And I want to leave myself a nice wee long tail of threads as well. Doesn't matter if you sew this with the right side up or the wrong side up, just whatever's handy. And then, so the first row stitching I'm doing is going to be about 5mm in from the edge. The second row stitching will be parallel to that, so probably another 5mm in. This is where I wish I had a faster machine. I get really annoyed. This machine is still faster than your average probably, but we've got some really fast machines in work that I use when I'm in there. But they're bulky, so this is better for kind of moving about. But yeah, you get used to a fast machine and then this one doesn't cut it. Anyway, I should just enjoy and not try and rush everything all the time, shouldn't I? So when we do these on the sub box, it's on Zoom, so you can actually talk through me, you can get involved. There is a chat too. There's no pressure to get involved. But what sometimes happens, what would be a risk actually, if it's something where everyone's concentrating and it goes really quiet, I end up in the zone, completely forget that I'm live, and then somebody talking gives me a fright. And that has happened so many times, but I guess it's not going to happen tonight because it's only chat function, no speaking out loud. But it's good for if you're like, I just can't get this bit, because you can actually jump on camera and you can show me like this isn't working, and I can normally figure out what's going on and what's going wrong. So you do get kind of personalised help on the lives as well, which is useful for other people too, because it just means that if someone else is watching the live back and they also had that problem, you've helped them fix it. So it's good to chat on there. So I'm coming up to where I started, so I don't want to overlap, so I'm going to leave a couple of millimetres from where I started. And then on your machine, if you have a thread cutty button like I have, don't use it because it cuts your threads too short. So I'm just going to lift my needle, lift my presser foot, pull the thread out to the side and leave myself some nice long tails, which are going to make it much easier to actually gather the fabric afterwards. So I've got a little space and I'm going to do a second row of gathering stitches. Don't sew over the little tails that are left. We want them to be free. And try and stay parallel. Don't cross over. If these stitches cross over, they also won't gather. It just causes trouble. So the reason we do 2 parallel rows of gathering stitches is because one often breaks. If you weren't here, cards on the table, I'd probably just go for 1 because I like to live dangerously. But when I say when because it does happen, it has snapped for me many times, especially on something where I've got a lot of fabric. It will make you want to throw the garment out of the window. So it's best to just do 2. It doesn't take that much longer, really. And these are temporary stitches, so don't worry if, because obviously my seam allowance is about 1 centimetre. If any of these stitches show on the outside, they're dead easy to pull out because they're really long. Back to the start again here. Again, not using my cutty button on my machine, lifting my needle, lifting my presser foot, pulling it out, leave myself some nice long tails. If you want to add a pocket, how far down from the joint totally depends on you and how long your arms are on your body. So I would just see where does the tank top end and what's the distance between the bottom of the tank top and where you would want your hands to go into a pocket, and that's the measurement I would use for pockets. Pockets would be great in this, to be fair. I just was an extra step that I thought there's no way I'll get that all done and pockets in a 2-hour live. Okay, now, if you've never done gathering before, it is one of the most satisfying techniques, I think. It's dead cute. I really love it. What I've got here is I've got my 2 rows of stitching, one above the other. And I'm going to get, so I've got thread on the top of my fabric and I've got thread on the bottom of my fabric here. And I'm going to, or like that's the right side and wrong side. It's nothing to do with right side and wrong side. It's to do with, we only want to pull threads on one side of the fabric. If you pull all 4 threads, then nothing happens. Because if you've ever made curtains before, or you've ever adjusted curtains like curtain tape, you've got the 2 threads that you pull that gather the curtain tape, and then you've got the channels that the curtain tape is going through. So essentially, like, the underside of my thread is like the channels, and the upper side of my thread is the ropey bits that you're going to pull. So only pull 2 at a time. So I'm just going to pick this. It's got a bit tangled, that's all right. Untangle them. So I have got this fabric really matches my nails, isn't it? Just noticed that after saying I'm not a really pink gal, and then my nails are exactly the same shade as the fabric. So you can see I've got 2 threads, and I'm going to pull them, and you'll see that the fabric will just start to gather. And you want to move all the excess down the line. And another tip so that these don't snap is keep your hands close to the fabric. So keep moving your fingers closer to the fabric to gather, and keep moving all the excess along. So I tend to gather from one side to the halfway point, and then I'll flip and I'll do that side to the halfway point to my other side seam, just so I don't put too much stress on one side. Always trying to do what I can to avoid any thread breakages here. And I also gather more than I think I need, because then if you gather loads, you can then pull them out evenly to make them fit the next step, which I will show you in a minute. Tanalon doesn't really fray that much, frays a wee bit, but if you were using a fabric here that was fraying loads, you'd probably want to overlock this raw edge first, because gathering and just touching that edge of the fabric a lot will encourage the fabric to fray. You don't want it to fray down and then all your gathering stitches come off. That would be a disaster. So one of the nice things about the sew alongs and the sub box, for me certainly, is it's a guaranteed bit of me time. And I know technically I'm working, but I get to sew some really nice stuff. It's every month. It's always something nice and seasonal. Sometimes it's out the comfort zone a little bit, something that you might think, like last month with the jumpsuit, for example. I know a lot of folk were like, I'm not too sure about a jumpsuit, but those who just tried it quite often, and they really liked it. So it does get you out of the comfort zone with your patterns. If you're stuck in a wee bit of a funk with your patterns and you're kind of sewing the same stuff all the time, it is really nice. We do have a pattern only version as well. So if you've got a massive fabric stash that you're dying to get through and you're not finding that you're able to make the time for it, it's really good for that as well. Excuse me. There's a great wee community in the sub box as well. There's like over 200 people in a Facebook group, all different levels of dressmaking. Some people in there are quite new to dressmaking and really chucking themselves in the deep end and learning loads as they go. Some people have been sewing for years and years and like the dedicated time, because I do think life is busy and life gets in the way. And if you've got a family as well, it's hard for you to be like, I am going upstairs to sew for myself. I don't want anyone to disturb me, because there's always other priorities ahead of that. Whereas if it is like on Thursday, it's in the diary, it starts at 6, excuse me, then it's a bit easier to say to the family, that's me time, and don't come in at the sewing room. Because it feels more like a kind of event. There's probably some kind of psychology behind it, but we hear this a lot where folk think because the sew along is part of a box that arrives through the door or that arrives in the inbox if you're doing the digital one, it's more acceptable for you to block that little bit of time for you in the diary. And also, if somebody thinks that when they come into your sewing room or your dining room or whatever room you use to do your sewing, and they'll probably hear me if you've not got me on in your headphones, they're not going to bother you because they're going to think you're on like a proper call with people, and I'll be able to see them when they come in. So that's good too. But it is important to make time for things that chill you out, things that make you feel good about yourself, things that create a, let's be honest, cracking wardrobe, because this is a Liberty dress that you would pay so much money in the shops for a Liberty dress. That's why I love sewing the Liberty, I think. Like 400 odd quid. Easy. Janet's making another poppy top while you're watching. Nice. I love the poppy top. That was 2 months ago. We did the Cinnamon Daisy poppy top and dress. We did the dress version, but loads of folk made the top as well, including me. I also made the top. Lovely pattern. Debbie, love the sub box. It really helps chill me out. I start getting excited as soon as I've paid for it. I know, because then, you know, the wheels are in motion. Janet says, I keep seeing the post fan and thinking it's for me. Boxes haven't even gone out yet. They're going out soon, don't you worry. And then Alison, love the sub box too. Love the wee bit of time once a month. So important when things feel so busy, and the sub box is so good for chucking us in the deep end to learn skills with tons of support. That is exactly, with love, I like to chuck everyone right into the deep end, but I'm right there with you, so it's not too scary. Right, so I have gathered my skirt. I'm just going to hold this up. I think this is going to be cute. Yes, I think that's probably the right amount of fabric. Right, so this is gathered quite a lot. Now, here comes the learning. I was going to say complexities. It's not a complexity. That makes it sound difficult. The mindfulness when you're sewing non-stretch to stretch, because essentially what we're looking to do, thread everywhere, as is my life. We're essentially wanting to sew the skirt to the bottom of this. Now, if this was a non-stretch pattern, I would be gathering this. You can see that it's a wee bit smaller. I'll pull them out to make them all even in a minute. But if this was non-stretch, you'd be gathering the skirt to fit the top bit, and you'd be stitching them in, and everything would be fine because it's non-stretch and non-stretch. But this bottom bit has to stretch enough and stretch with the stretchy fabric enough to get on you. So if this sits on your hips, it's going to need to be, it's definitely going to need to go over your head. So it's going to need to be stretchy enough to go over your bust. So bear that in mind. And then it's going to need to be stretchy enough to sit over your hips. A point actually that I should have made earlier is when I was making the mock-up of this, the terracotta type one, I made the size 10 in the tank top, which looks fine, but it probably wasn't tight enough. So ideally, you don't want this to be baggy. If this top is baggy, when you sew this onto this, it just doesn't look great. It's going to look much better. It kind of pulls the stretch fabric in all directions. So before you even sew the skirt onto the top, I would try the top on and make sure that it is tight. I don't mean like so tight you can't breathe, but you don't want it to be baggy at all because it will not look good. I ended up having to take my side seams in to make mine look good. And this time I've just gone ahead and cut the smaller size. So this is the size 8, which should be fine. So yeah, bear that in mind. Make sure that is sitting nice first of all. So this has to stretch over my bust. Just thinking of logically, what are all the areas that this piece is going to stretch over in order for me to get this on? It's going to have to stretch over like probably your kind of shoulders, because you'll put it on like that and then your shoulders kind of widen a little bit. So with that in mind, I am going to, at this point, I'm going to leave this to one side, and we're going to use some elastic here. And I'm going to take this elastic and put it around my hips and cut it to size so that it is not too tight, it's not loose, it's just right for my hips, for roughly where this seam is going to sit on my body. The elastic is definitely necessary because it just gives that waistband bit a little bit more integrity. So it just pulls it in, make sure that, you know, over time this fabric could go a bit loosey-goosey, which we don't want, and this is going to just stop that from happening. And it also helps us, because what we do is we sort this size out and then we stitch our skirt onto our elastic, and then we stitch our skirt and elastic onto our top. So I'm going to just, I'll show you what I'm doing actually. So I know this is going to sit, obviously I've got jeans on, right, but I want this to sit, it's not quite that low, it's probably around quite a high hip, it's not really over my bum this sits. So pulling it, it's tight, it's going to stay put, it's going to stop it riding up. That width for me is probably going to be perfect. I'm giving myself a wee bit where the elastic is crossing over so that I can sew it together, and then I'm just going to give it a wee cut and cut to size. And then don't get these bits mixed up, whatever I do. Then what I want to make sure is if I stick a wee safety pin in this elastic where I would sew it, as if I've sewn it together, can I get this elastic relatively easily over the top of my body as if I'm putting the dress on, right? So here we are, and I'll put it over like that, absolutely no bother, it's not overstretching or anything. That's going to be absolutely fine, because what I will do when I am sewing my skirt into my elastic, I'm going to pull my elastic so that this still has give in it. So I'm going to be pulling it quite a wee bit actually. Once I've this settled on how wide I want this elastic to be, and that's going to work absolutely fine for me, I am going to stitch this together on my sewing machine. Linda, it doesn't matter what width of elastic actually. See, whatever elastic you've got lying about is fine. This is about 1 centimetre, 5mm, I think I've done in my other one. Even wider than that's fine. It's not a big deal. I probably wouldn't go any more than like 15mm, because then it's maybe going to be a bit too bulky. Right. I'm just going to stitch this together with a wee zigzag. This will not be visible on the outside, so it doesn't matter if it's messy looking, because we won't see it. It's just a wee functional stitch. Okay, so now I'm putting the top to one side, and I'm going to lay my elastic out here, and I need my skirt to be a wee bit wider than my elastic. So if I stretch my elastic, it's probably going to be about that much. It's almost the length of this wee cutting board I've got in front of me. So I'm going to pull my skirt out until it's about that width and try and move my gathers so they're even. Remembering that I intentionally pulled this in loads because it's much smaller than it should be. So there we go. Right. So I'm just going to start here And I'm just gently pulling them out. Nice and even. And don't worry about it being perfect, because actually see when it's sewn together, you can't really notice. Unless you had like one massive clumpy bit here and then no gathers here, then you'd notice that. But don't worry about it being absolutely perfect, because that's not necessary. So I'm just pulling some bits out. If you pull it out too much, you can always gather it again, so don't worry about that either. And then I'll pull the back bit out as well. Do you know, all I can see is pink now after me saying I'm not a very pink girl, like with my pink board and my pink nails and my pink flowers on my top. I clearly don't think of myself as a pink person, but maybe secretly I am. I was going through more of a lilac phase recently, to be fair. Lilac everything. Go. So I'm pulling it out and I'm just double checking it every so often, so I don't pull it out too much if I can help it. I think these wee dresses would be cute with a long sleeve top as well, and tights and boots. They absolutely would. I 100% agree. I probably will get a little long sleeve, like close fitting top made, pattern made for winter actually. And then I'll see you in December on a live doing this exact thing with a different top. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to pull the back piece and the front piece out evenly so that my side seams are still, pull it out a wee bit. My side seams are still like here and here. Okay, I think that is going to require me to stretch my elastic a bit. So I think that is going to work for me. So we're going to do the same again with the halfway points and the quarter points of my elastic and of my skirt pieces, and then we're going to match them up and pin in between those points. So I'm going to grab my pins. I actually can't remember what the Deborah top looks like off the top of my head, but is that the V-neck? Or was it a turtleneck? Yeah, that would be nice, actually. That would be cute. Anything that's has to be close fitting. That's the requirement. But anything would work, actually. The turtleneck, yeah. Yeah, that would definitely work. That'd be cute, actually. Really nice for winter. We can't be talking about winter. I'm not done with summer yet, although it feels like winter sometimes. It's just like rainy and 17 degrees here. It's weird, as you'll know. Okay, so I've got the halfway points and the quarter points on my elastic. I'm going to do the same. I don't have to find the halfway points because I have side seams, so they will be my halfway points, but I do want to find my wee quarter points here. So if I put my side seams together, there and there, this is a halfway point. I use bigger pins in the gathered piece of fabric because the pins can get lost in the gathers. So I've got like a big massive quilting pin in here. If you've got them, use them. Just use like the most obvious pins, because I have lost pins in gathers before and it's a bit annoying. There we go. Okay, and then I am going to, now let me think, I want to put the elastic on the wrong side of my fabric, and this is because I actually did the opposite when I was making this mock-up, my other one. and I put the elastic on this side. I just wasn't thinking straight, which then meant when I stitched this to the hem of my top, at some points I could see some of the elastic sticking out. So let me show you how that's easy to happen. So if I'd stitched my elastic to my right side and then I go right side together with this top to stitch this on, I had not stitched enough and it looked like that on the outside and it was really ugly, so I had to go over it again. So a way to avoid that is to put the elastic on the wrong side of your Liberty fabric. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to learn from my mistakes, which is what we do a lot of. Oops. I'm just going to make sure we're not twisting our elastic as well. So put that on my wee side seam there. I'm going to stitch this from my elastic side, so I'll pop the pins on that side. So you can see here, there's a bit that this, when I'm sewing this in, this is going to need pulled, which means that although this fabric is non-stretch, that's what's giving it stretch and that's what's going to allow us to put this garment on. So that's the kind of things you want to think about when you're stitching non-stretch fabric to stretch fabric, because it still has to go on your body and then come back in to place again. Another wee side seam here. And another wee halfway point here. And then if you want to do some other pins, I'm probably going to stretch this and put a couple more pins in. And again, it's your last chance to kind of even out any wee gathers that aren't behaving themselves. So pull that. This is where I think sewing is, in fact, I know that sewing is a very dexterous skill because we've had people come in and do classes with us before in order to prove they were dexterous enough to get into a dentistry course. So I know that they know that crafts are good. But what I do when I'm stretching something like this, I will use this part of my palm and this pinky. Sewers are probably the only people that are making sure that these pinkies don't go out of fashion, because apparently these pinkies are disappearing. Evolutionary, maybe that's incorrect. Somebody who knows more about this can tell me. But anyway, I use that, which then leaves these fingers available to me to actually do things with. So I would put, just watch you don't stab yourself. So my pinky and my palm holding that bit, my pinky and my palm here holding that bit, which then lets me pull this top to then grab this wee bit here and stick a pin in there, which means it's nice and even. That's what we want. And we pin in there. Just going to make it a bit easier. These kind of shorter spaces are easier for me to stitch over. That's a wee bit off actually. Just sort that wee bit out. There we go. excuse me. Alison says, I'm thinking easy work wardrobe. This is like work wardrobe, holiday stuff. Like, I had this on with a nice wee pair of wedges and went out for a nice dinner wearing it as well. And it's a really wee versatile one. I think like Liberty, you could even get away with, honestly, a wee wedding outfit, I think. Like the comfiest wedding outfit ever. But yeah, it's a nice wee stash buster too, because the actual top bit doesn't take too much. So you might have like 2 meters or a couple of meters of something non-stretch even in your stash, and you'll be like, what am I going to do with that? And now you know. Just match it to a little bit of jersey for the top, and you've got yourself a lovely wee dress. Good for like a fancy wee dinner on holiday as well. If you make it out of like a cheaper fabric, it could be something that you chalk over a bikini, go to the beach in. Could be the most versatile little thing yet. Okay, so just make sure there are no bits where you think you'd prefer another wee pin. Let me stick another wee one in here, I think. And then I'm actually going to sew this in with the sewing machine, because we'll be overlocking the skirt to the top. I don't want like overlocking all on top of each other. So I'm going to stitch this in with, I've got normal thread in my sewing machine. I'm going to pull it slightly as I go, just so that it's, I don't want to stretch the non-stretch fabric, I'm just stretching the elastic. And then I'm going to probably use a wee zigzag to stitch it in actually. I've got like a wee raw edge sticking out the top, and that is because I know I've got loads of length on this, there is loads of fabric in it, and it will mean I'm less likely to have to unpick any of my gathering stitches on the outside. If you're right up at the edge, it's absolutely fine, don't worry about it. So I'm going to go on to a zigzag stitch. Excuse me. I've got it on a width 3. I'm going to make it a bit wider. I'm going to make it like a width 4. And I think 1.5 should be fine. I might change this once I get started, but it should be fine. We don't really need, because we're stretching this as we go, we don't really need it to stretch much more, but a zigzag on elastic just feels like the right thing to do. You could probably use a straight stitch, but I'm going to use a zigzag. So I'm starting at a side seam, working from my right side, elastic up. Let's get myself sorted. Needle in, take that wee pin out, and then I want to pull that. So this is nice and stretched. Now, if you're pulling the machine, if you're pulling the fabric away, the machine is obviously trying to pull the fabric and everything that way. So you might want to steady it a little bit at the back by also putting a bit of tension on the back so that you're not just fighting with the machine the whole time. So I'm pulling at the front, I'm going to pull at the back, and I'll just let the machine pull it through at its own pace. Let's see how this zigzag's looking. Let's maybe go a bit longer. And then take your wee pins out as you go. Same thing applies that I was talking about earlier. Where your pin is where you need to sew. Otherwise, you'll move all of the excess to the end, and then the elastic won't stretch enough to sew this in. So where this is, I will pull. So I'll pull until I'm almost at that pin. And then I'll take it out so that I'm not lost any space in my elastic there. I'm also always trying to make sure that my wee raw edge hasn't disappeared away in there, away from the elastic, because that does happen. Like, see here, you can see that, but my raw edge is like hidden away and it's all tucked down and folded. So that's going to need folded out like that. So make sure there's always a wee raw edge sticking out the side. It's not, because that will show on the right side if you're not careful of your garment when it's finished. So just taking it easy, be nice and mindful. I'm doing the opposite of bobbin chicken here. I don't know what you won't be able to see, but there is hardly any fabric, any thread on my bobbin, so I'm keeping one eye on that, one eye on my machine down here. It's like top bobbin chicken. Don't often play that one, but I needed to use this. I hate it when you've got loads of almost finished bobbins of thread kicking about. Wee edges trying to run away from me there. Tanalon, if you've ever worked with it, is a really beautiful, very fine fabric. So it is trying to get away from me there. I'm going to move some of these gathers up a wee tiny bit. And then again, the edgy bits hiding away. And I'm nearly back to the start. I think I'm going to make it on the thread front. I'm just going to move some of these wee gathers about there. Raw edge, try to hide from me. I can see you. Viscose, satin viscose, all of these fabrics would be great for the skirt. A satin one would be incredible, I think. The stitching around the neck ripped when I put it over my head. What thread did you use? Was it overlocked? Tell me more info. I widened the neck opening a bit and sized up the neck, if that makes sense. Overlock or chicken is worse. You're not wrong. Right, so come to the end of my gathered bits, and some of my gathers come out a wee bit, but I'm just going to pull my elastic because my elastic will gather it anyway, so that'll be fine. I'm about to run out of thread. Come on. Oh my god. Where are you? Can you believe that? It just ran out a minute ago. I think I made it. I actually made it. There is no thread on my bobbin. Wow. Well, the thread chicken gods are with me today, that's for sure, because that's where I finished. Look at that. Oh, thanks, thread gods. So now we have a skirt that's got stretch. That should be good on your hips. That's going to fit me fine. I'm actually just going to try this on over my jeans to make sure. Yes, that's going to be perfect. So, let's put that. Right, we turn my skirt out to the right side. Then, if this is a lot bigger than the bottom of the tank top, I probably should have checked that. I think mine's going to be okay. What we don't really want to do here is stretch the skirt to the point that this top gets proper stretched as well. So if it's only a wee tiny bit, let's see. So what I'd probably do at this point is try on the top, try on the skirt, and if the skirt's too big, we can take some of the excess out at the side seam. Let me just stick this on and have a wee look. Okay, I think mine might actually be okay, but I am going to take a wee bit off the side seam of mine just to show you how to do it. So at my side seam, turn my skirt inside out. I'm going to decide how much I want to take off the side. So that's a side seam there. That's a side seam there. I think I'm going to take off. I'm going to take off a wee bit. So I'm laying these down beside each other. And I I've got a wee bit of extra here, so I'm probably going to take this much off at the side. And the easiest way for me to do that is to just really carefully run it through my overlocker and create a new wee side seam there. So rather than go the whole way down, I'm just going to come in here and then I'm just going to graduate off at a wee angle. There's so much fabric on here that you're not going to notice that one side seam is a bit of a curve and the other side seems straight. If you prefer, you can cut this and then overlock it, but I am confident that my overlocker should be able to cut through this. Famous last words. Just take it easy, yeah, cut through, no bother. And just make sure we don't sew in any tucks. So I'm just going to graduate down until I'm a wee bit further down, cutting out of a wee wedge of fabric, if you like. And then to give this a little bit more strength where the elastic's maybe going to get pulled, I'm going to jump on my sewing machine and do a wee backwards and forwards just at the elastic bit to secure it a little bit more. Okay, so that's better, I think. So this is the bit I cut off. It wasn't very big. So I should probably find some more top thread, shouldn't I? Do I have this colour? I'll use a pink because I don't have any more of that colour. So a little back and forward on the elastic. Would cutting the elastic to the size of the bottom of the honey tank be okay? Yes, that would be fine. I probably should have done that, to be fair. I think I made a mental note when I made the other dress to do that, and then I've just completely forgotten about it, because mental notes don't work. Diane, you'd know that because you write everything down, which is clearly better because then you actually have notes to remember. But anyway, yes, you could cut it to the size of the bottom of the tank, and then again make sure that you're going to be able to stretch that to get it over your shoulders, your boobs. Plus overlap, yes, Diane, that sounds good. So I'm just going to put it back on a straight stitch, normal stitch length and everything, and I'm just going to do a wee back and forward. Just to give it a little bit more strength. Okay, cool. So it looks absolutely fine on this side. And now we can put the two together. So turn this out to the right side, your skirt. No, sorry, keep that inside out actually. You can do it either way, but this is probably easier. Keep that inside out and turn your tank out to the right side. And again, we're going to match the, we could probably get away with just matching the side seams. I don't think we need to, match the quarter points because it probably is going to just fit in nicely. So I'm going to put my tank inside. So this is right side out. So that will mean that my skirt and my tank top are right sides together. So let's match my wee side seam first of all. Stick a wee pin in. I am going to stick this through my overlocker, so I'm going to stitch from my jersey side, I think. Just try to figure out what side to put my pins in. That will be the one, like that. So side seam, other side seam, right sides together, raw edges together. You'll be hearing that saying in your nightmares tonight, because I do say it all the time. I should probably get it printed on a t-shirt. Handy little saying. And then the rest of it we should just be able to stitch in. Now when we're stitching this in, if you're not using an overlocker, which has a stretch anyway, so overlocker stitches are always stretchy, then make sure you sew it in using a stretch stitch or Maraflex on your sewing machine, because we can't sew this in with a straight stitch because it will remove all stretch and it will defeat the purpose of us putting the elastic in the first place. Right, let's pin this all round. I'm going to go slightly over time, but not too much. I'll probably be done at like 5 past. If you need to go, don't you worry. Oops. I only actually came up with this idea for this dress probably, when did we announce the honey so long? A couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. It's funny how inspiration comes to you and then you think, how have I come this far in life without this dress in my life? Because now it's got to the point where I'm like, oh, I could wear that dress, and it ends up in the washing all the time because I'm wearing it to work. I wore it out last weekend. It's so cute. Obviously, the unique thing about making your own clothes is no one else, apart from everyone else in the sewing community, has the version that you've made. Unless you buy a kit from me or you're on the sub box, which is even better because you can recognise people who have also done the same course as you because they're wearing the Sew Confident sub box uniform, whatever that would be. I'm sure I'll see a few of these out in the wild, which is exciting. Right, here we go. All my pins are in. I'm going to run this through the overlocker. And then we will be done. So then all that needs to be done is a hem, and obviously doing those armholes as well. Sarah, we're all invested now, absolutely. Just need to wear a brander, that's fine. This looks really great. I've got a really, really old Topshop cropped denim jacket that I got in Vinted, and it must be ancient because you know Topshop's not, well, it has been on the go for a while, but it's like all faded and all that. I think it was back when it was like Moto in Topshop, and it looks so cute with this dress with the little denim jacket. So if you've got a wee crop denim jacket, or even a normal denim jacket actually, because this is a drop waist, so it would work. It looks really nice. And you can wear it with trainers, which is cute too. Yes, you could put pockets in the skirt, absolutely. I was going to buy a Primark top and add a skirt. M&S have support in their vest. You might actually have a ready-to-wear top that you want that's got support that you love, that's the right shape for you, and you could absolutely just sew a little bit of Liberty on the bottom, even quicker. Right, let's do this. Come closer. So I'm going to take my time and go round nice and slow. So somebody earlier on was asking about coming off and doing something in a circle. I can show you how I come off, because this is a circle as well. So I go on at a wee angle, take that pin out. I don't really want to cut too much off, and I want to make sure that my skirt, obviously your overlock has got a blade, so make sure none of your skirt's sticking up here and you don't cut through it by accident. And I am sewing through a little bit of the elastic here as well, so I'm going to take my time because I don't want to put too much pressure on the machine. I'm just checking underneath all the time. Oh, it's a dream. Looks like a wee dream. Kind of what I'm trying to do is cut off the raw edge and not cut into the elastic here. If I cut in a wee bit of elastic, it's fine. It won't lose its integrity or anything, but I just want to get my raw edges cut off. I need somewhere to go at the weekend now to wear this, so if anyone wants to go out for lunch, you just let me know and we can turn up wearing the same outfit. Could you make the top to fit the natural waist? I feel I could drop my waist. Yes, you absolutely can. You could do it higher up. You could do it even higher up if you wanted to do like a really cute like empire line. So you can choose where you put it, and the same rules apply for putting the elastic in and everything. It would be cute at the natural waist too. The only reason I'm doing the drop waist is it's everywhere in the shops just now. And actually I liked it more than I thought I did when I tried it on, because I'm like more of a natural waist gal. My jeans are high-waisted. Any dresses that I've got like this, like the Hope dress has got a high up gathered bit that I love, but actually this is really nice. A wee bit different. An empire line one would be really cute. I need to just, if anybody makes anything or goes off piste, please show me them. Do tag me in them. I'm always inspired by what everyone's up to. I love a belt as well, and it would look nice if you were to do it at your natural waist with a wee belt on it, I think. So I'm coming back round to the start again here. This bit here is where I started, so I'll show you what I do. I'm going to overlap it, excuse me, a little bit, and then I'm just going to come off the side, and that's what you'll do for even like really small circles like cuffs and things. What we want to make sure is that we're not sewing a tuck in, so you might have to pull it a wee tiny bit just to get the jersey to flatten out. So I'm overlapping the stitching that I started with, so I can see in at my needles where I'm now overlapping. I'm in a straight line, and I'm just going to come off at an angle. So pull the fabric at a wee angle like that, and then out the back. I'm going to turn it out and have a look. See what we're dealing with. Belt always feels like a bit of security for me, so yes, that's what I was thinking. If it was at the natural waist, yeah. I did try and put a belt on this, even though it's, or my other one, even though it's not a natural waist. And what I found was it didn't stay put. But if you did want to put a wee belt on, and you wanted it to stay lower, put 2 wee belt loops, or like maybe a couple of wee belt loops on you out of maybe the Liberty fabric, and just stitch them in, and then that'll make your belt stay put. Oh my goodness, this is adorable. Let me move my camera. It's so cute. So, my big daft chair out the way. This is just going to be so cute. I mean, there's a real risk that I will just book a holiday tonight, because I feel like now I need somewhere to go with this dress that feels like pure sunshine. This is quite long. I like that length on me. If you wanted it to be shorter, you could. That would be cute as well. But how adorable is this? So there's that one, and obviously my original one, which I also love. Oh, I'm well chuffed with that. Right, I'm just going to check the shiny forehead. So normally I use my MacBook Pro camera, face camera, rather than this one, so that's why it's like not behaving itself. I might hold that there. Let's see. We're out to the shop on Sunday. I'm not in this weekend. Post photos of the finished dress when you wear it. Vicky, you know who you're talking to here. Of course I'll post pictures when it's done. I'll probably post pictures before it's done. If you haven't got an overlocker, how would you attach the top to the skirt? I would attach it using a stretch stitch on your sewing machine, or Mariflex, which is the thread that's a wee bit stretchy as well. If you want an overlocker though, we have some great deals on them just now, so give us a shout. Classy, Teresa, do you know what? It's so classy for me, don't you think? Like, I can't believe that I came up with this. Because normally I like really colourful, I like quite playful stuff, whereas this feels like I've grown up and I'm classy now. I agree, that's what I thought when I made it as well. Holiday time, Debbie, absolutely. I'll let you know if I book anything later. How do you hem with the selvage there? Okay, good question. I am just going to turn it up. It just behaves like normal fabric. So I will probably overlock, because I've got my selvage at the bottom because the way I cut my fabric. I'll probably overlock that bit off and then turn it up once. Or you could turn it up twice and that would get rid of the selvage. It's not massive. What they're doing that one. Yeah, on this one, I just overlocked it and turned it up. You could turn it twice if you wanted to. Oh, I mean, wow, the forehead's really shiny. Better have plenty of Vaseline stock this weekend. We do. We just got a whole load more in. I've got some ready-to-wear vest tops, which have shrunk in length. What a great way to use them, 100%. I've got loads of tops that have shrunk as well. And then you're like, what am I going to wear these with? It's a really good way to reuse them. Very grown up, thanks, Teresa. Colour combo is fabulous. Aileen, I do try, as you know, with matching the fabrics together. So, a little rundown then of what the deal is here. If you don't have the honey tank free pattern, there is a link in the description of this on Facebook. I think we're live on YouTube as well. So there's a link there. I haven't seen any YouTube comments come through, so maybe we're not live on YouTube. Or people have been commenting and I've not seen them, but I'll jump in. Anyway, it's fine. If you have not been able to download or you haven't been able to get the honey tank for whatever reason, I will be sending out an email again after this with a link, so don't worry. I'll also send information on how you can watch this back. I'll figure it out. Immediately it'll upload to Facebook and then you'll be able to watch it back, so that'll be fine. I'll send you a link to the Liberty kits that we have. So both of these kits are available. In fact, this one, we ran out of this colour, but we've picked this is a different shade of red and it looks amazing as well. There's only a few of each colourway because we're just running out of the jersey that comes with it. If there's anything on there that's out of stock and you're like, I really want it, just message me and I'll see if I can get more of the plain fabric in. If you just want plain fabric, it's just jersey on our website. If you just want the Liberty, we've got loads of great Liberty. If there's a Liberty on the website that you're like, I would like somebody to match a jersey to that one, and it's not one of our existing kits, again, let us know and we'll be able to match something to it in the shop or get something in for you that matches. If you're interested in finding out more about the sub box, please do drop us a wee message. I'll send a link out to the sub box so you can check it out. We've got the full box version and we've also got the digital one. So digital one's really good if you want to use up fabric in your stash, but or if you're fussy with fabric, which is totally fine. So if you're like, there's loads of colours I don't like, there's loads of fabrics I don't like, then the digital one's probably going to be better for you, because then what you can do is you can choose your own fabric. Even if you don't have a big stash, every month in the email that I send out to my digital people, I send out 3 to 5 options of fabric that I think works, and you can always message us and say, would this fabric work? And we'll tell you whether it is suitable or not. In the main box one, I should have actually brought one home and I could have showed you it. You get everything that you need to make the pattern. So that is the pattern printed. You get the digital PDF files sent to you at the end of the month. You get notions, you get thread. All you need is like the basic sewing type stuff for the sub box. You only need sewing machines, some basic kit. All of this kit specific stuff gets sent to you, like elastics, interfacings, we've used Stretch Fix in kits before and we've always sent it so that you've got it, because we know you're not going to have these things. There's a great community in the sub box as well. There's quite a lot of people on the chat tonight that are in my sub box, so you get a wee idea of what's the vibe like, what are the people like. Legends, obviously. Sewers are great folk anyway, let's be honest. So it's a really nice community. There's also a 2-hour live social every month, which is basically come along and do 2 hours of sewing with friends. I'm not going to lie, I get no sewing done because we end up just chatting about everything. So we chat about loads of sewing things. If you're looking for pattern inspiration for a wedding that you've got coming up, there'll be loads of people in there that can send you different things and things that they've made and fabrics that they've found in places. Like, it's a really, really nice community, basically. So there's loads of stuff in the sub box. If you want to join the June box, we've still got fabric left over from the June box. So even if you join before Sunday, normally the cut-off's the end of the month, but we're continuing the June box until Sunday, which is 2 days away from now. So if you join then, you will still get the June box because they've not gone out yet. I think that's everything. Is that everything? If Kate's watching, she'll be like, you've forgotten to say this and that, which is fine. When's the next social? It will be in the hub, but it's also in my phone. Let me tell you, when is the next social? June social. Sub social, June. Next week, Wednesday the 11th of June, I think. Double check that in the box, and sometimes there's stuff in my diary that shouldn't be. No, that looks right. I'll get some more dates in for the next 6 months for the socials anyway, so you can stick them in the diary. And then the sew-alongs every month obviously are the last Thursday of every month. This month we've got the amazing girl who owns the pattern company doing the sew-along. So that's really cool because she is a really nice girl. So that's going to be very cool. But anyway, I am going to, Diane says 11th of June. That'll be right then because I must have put it in the hub. So there's a sub hub that you can log into. What have we got here? What colours of jersey do you have? Almost every colour imaginable, apart from lilac at the moment, but I think I'm going to get some lilac in. It's all on the website. I struggled downloading it, but it was fine the last email you sent. That's good. I'm glad. Oh my goodness, Prospect Place Liberty Fabric. I know. I love that. The Prospect stuff's so cute. Debbie says, it's brilliant. I love the sub box. I love the sub box too. Alison says, definitely worth giving the sub box a try. I love it. It's good fun, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to let you all 12 minutes late. That's not too bad for me. Normally I'm chatting so much nonsense that we go over a wee bit. I'll send you all an email probably in the next 2 hours. I'm going to go and get my dinner, get a glass of wine, and try this dress on. So please do share any photos that you've got. You can tag us on Instagram at So Confident. You can tag us on Facebook, obviously, if you're on Facebook as well. Instagram's good for visual stuff, right enough. If you're not really on social media and you don't really post and you just want to send us a photo so that we can put it on our stories or on our Instagram, please do. I cannot wait to see all of the different versions of this that you make. And thanks for joining me. So I hope to see you on a future Sew Along, on the sub box, on a class, and somewhere in some capacity. We'll probably do these every 6 months or so, these little free ones that are out in the open to everyone. So yeah, keep a wee eye out for the next one, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.